the graphic photos and signs that you guys show. I know a lot of people that are pro-life, and they're opposed to that. Could you just talk a bit about showing the graphic images and the effectiveness or not, or just your views on that?
Yeah. So we show abortion victim photography not because it's our preference. It's not something I think anyone likes to do or likes to see. We show abortion victim photography because it's effective to save the lives of preborn children. And when someone else's life is on the line, we have to ask, what is the most effective way to save that life? The pro-life movement's not my movement. I'm alive. I survived 9 months in my mother's womb, the most dangerous place I'm ever gonna have to be. The pro-life movement is the babies movement, it's preborn children. And though seeing abortion victim photography disturbs me, though I'm not comfortable looking at it, though I don't enjoy that, I need to show it, I need to see it. Because if we don't do what's effective, they die, children die. And so showing abortion victim photography is what every single successful social reform movement throughout the history of social reform has done. Whether it was the slave trade, whether it was child labor practices, whether it was segregation, people showed the injustice. Never has an injustice been ended by covering up that injustice. And so if we want to end abortion, if we want to save preborn children's lives, if we want to spare men and women the pain of realizing that their child was in existence, that they are a mother or father, but a mother or father of a dead baby, we have to show the people these pictures. And I just remember one conversation where one of our volunteers, she talked to a woman who had never seen abortion. She saw it, she had a conversation, she became 100% pro-life. And then her eyes just welled up with tears, and she said, "Where were you when I had an abortion yesterday?" And minutes from that conversation, that same girl, she talked to another woman who's also pro-abortion, who had also had an abortion, who also became pro-life. And she looked at that picture and it changed her. And then she gave this volunteer, she gave her a great big hug, and she said, "Thank you so much for being here today. I'm pregnant. I was gonna have another abortion, but now I know I can't do this to my child."
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much for talking to me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cheers.
So my name is Devorah Gilman, and I am the Eastern Outreach Director for the Canadian Centre for Bioethical Reform.
And you've been coming out on the streets for a long time now, right? Doing pro-life activism.
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, how are you generally received by people? Do you have a lot of fruitful conversations or a lot of hate? What's that like when you're out there usually?
So when we're on the streets, people respond to us in all sorts of different ways. Some people have negative responses, some people have very positive responses, but a lot of people are curious. So most people just haven't learned much about abortion and are really surprised when they see the pictures of abortion, when they see the ultrasound photography, and when they have simple conversations. So I think most people, even whatever perspective they're coming from, they are going to be surprised to see how many people aren't aware about the facts about abortion, the facts about when human life begins, all of that, and are quickly to actually shift in their opinion to be more positive of the pro-life view and to be more against abortion than when they start interacting with us.
So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you and your team kind of face when you're out doing the street activism?
I think one of the biggest challenges is just it's that challenge of educating people. Some people think they know what there is to know, so reaching people and making them care. A lot of people are very apathetic when it comes to abortion. They don't see it as an issue maybe that affects them personally, and so showing them the truth of who the preborn are and what abortion does to them really helps break through that, and just letting them know that we're there to talk. We can have civil conversations, productive conversations. I think that's really the biggest challenge, is just helping people to care and helping people know more so that they do care.
I know a lot of people that are pro-life and who are strongly pro-life, and for lack of better words, sometimes they don't do anything about it. You know, I've been guilty of that for sure. I could be doing more. So what would you say just for encouragement to people that, you know, are pro-life and just, you know, what kind of things can they be doing to, you know, make change in this area and just encouragement on that?
Yeah, you're right. And I feel like I've been in the same boat myself, is where you know abortion exists, but because abortion happens in hospitals and clinics behind sterile clinic doors, we don't see it. It's not something that might feel real because, again, we don't see it. We don't see the 300 corpses that are added to the ever-growing pile of corpses in Canada every single day. And so for people, I think almost the first step is just to be educated ourselves. I remember when I first started learning more about it, I looked up a video that had abortion pictures online just because I knew that life began at fertilization. I knew they were human beings like you and I. I knew abortion ended their lives, but I knew that I didn't actually get it, that I didn't fully understand because it was so distant from me in that moment. And so to educate myself really helped for me to actually see what actually happens to those babies, for me to see their limp bodies being folded into towels to be disposed of in the garbage. That really motivated me, and I think that's the first thing, is just educating ourselves so that we care appropriately and that we're also motivated to do something. And then what can we do? I know a lot of people will volunteer or support a pregnancy care center, and that's really good work, that's important. Be educated about where the pregnancy care centers are in your community so you can recommend people to them. There's a lot of ways to get politically active, finding out if your local member of parliament or representative for the provincial government are they pro-life? Can you encourage them? Can you support them? Can you advocate or lobby them to be pro-life? Once you're educated, share that education with them. They're going to want to meet with you as someone who's going to be potentially voting for them. That's a great way to make a difference. And then I think, though, what is something that a lot of people ignore is educating others. And that can be scary because, again, your politician might not be a friend. Someone who finds out they're not unplanned pregnancy needs support. They're looking for that support. That might be an easy way to encourage them. But educating others is so important because say there's someone in your life and they aren't educated about abortion and they get pregnant and they're told you can have a 5-minute abortion procedure or you can go through 9 months of pregnancy and go through labor and give birth. What's going to be easier? What's going to be quicker? What are they going to probably go for? Probably the abortion. If they're morally equivalent, why not do the quick, easy option? And so it's so important to be educating the people in our lives and the people in our communities about abortion, because if they're not educated about abortion, they're not going to go to the pregnancy care centers for support. And if people aren't educated about abortion, they're not going to support pro-life politicians. And so really foundational in our communities is education, letting people know the humanity of preborn children and the inhumane nature of abortion. So I think doing public education on the streets is so important. I wish everyone would just go to a pro-life presentation, hear all the science, all the philosophy behind the position, and just accept it that way. But most people who aren't pro-life aren't going to sit down at a pro-life presentation, so we have to go to them. And so going out on the streets, public education is so vitally important for the pro-life movement. And is it for everyone? I recognize that there are some people who aren't going to be able to do pro-life street outreach. Maybe it's with their work or their life, their family schedule. Maybe it just doesn't work, and there's ways that they can, whether it's support morally, support financially, there's ways they can still be involved. But I'd say street outreach might not be for everyone, but I think it honestly could be for most people. Right. Get trained. Don't just go out on your own with no education yourself. But there's a lot of pro-life activists and advocates across Canada, across the world really, who have training. And I remember myself, I used to never talk to strangers. I used to not like to debate or talk about controversial things. And I went to some workshops and I got the tools that equipped me to go out and to reach out to other people's. And I remember the first time I went out, I talked to some people who were for abortion, and after the end of the conversation became pro-life. And that blew my mind that I could be part of something like that. That was not something I expected to ever do in my life. And now I know there's hundreds of people who are pro-life because I was able to have a conversation with them. I was able to show them a picture of abortion. And it's really neat because I work with a lot of people, volunteers, interns, staff, who are doing street outreach. And so many of them would be the most unlikely people to do something like this. Their friends or family are shocked when they hear they're going on the streets talking to people about abortion because that's not their personality, it's not their type. Yeah. They're simply people who understand that the greatest human rights injustice of our time is abortion, and that we need to rescue those who are being taken away to death, preborn children, and they've responded to that call to rescue and to end injustice, to help the vulnerable and the innocent, and that's why they're there. And there's training, there's help, there's support. I think most everyone can, and I hope most everyone would do pro-life outreach. Yeah.